Yeah, probably. Sure, why not? Yeah, of course. Okay. Today, I'd like to make a short video that revisits a topic I covered quite a long time ago, specifically Japanese knife laws. I'm doing this because recently I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are moving to Japan about whether or not they'll either be able to carry their knives with them when they come, or if they'll be able to ship them from overseas once they get here. And the answer to this is an unresounding, very clear, yeah, probably, sure, why not? Yeah, of course. This is just my way of saying nobody's really sure. The only thing I can tell you for sure is that the one thing all these knives here have in common is that they were all imported to Japan from overseas. Some of them from China, some of them from the USA, one of them from New Zealand. And all of them arrived with no troubles whatsoever. In fact, no one even questioned me. On the other hand, I didn't carry them in my bag, but as long as they're in your check-in baggage, I can't imagine you having too much trouble. But, that said, the other thing these all have in common is that they are all within the legal size as allowed by the sword and gun law. In that case, they're well under 5.9 inches. In fact, the longest blade I have here is this R. Murphy Fisherman's Friend, which is from here to here about 4¼ inches. The next longest I have, and which was just recently shipped here, is this Paul Rathbun Custom Knives Drop Point Hunter that was shipped within like the last 3 weeks. I've asked around, including talking to Virtuo Vice, another very famous YouTuber, about any trouble he's had having knives shipped. And the truth is, although he has never had any trouble getting any of his dozens upon dozens of knives sent to Japan, he admits he's never tried to get a long blade, as in 5.9 inches or over, shipped into Japan. The closest he has is a CKC that has a very large choil on it that counts as part of the handle. Other people have asked me about swords, and quite frankly, this is way beyond my pay grade, as I don't have much interest in swords. I would say if you have something that you think is an art sword, or something that might be a proper Japanese sword, I would consult with the Society for the Preservation of Japanese Art Swords, and they'll be able to tell you about the rules and laws for getting that sent into Japan. Now, one of the things you'll notice if you dig around on the internet and if you can read Japanese, or even if you're walking around Japan, is that you'll see very large knives, including buck hoodlums, for sale online and in stores. Now, as I understand it, recently knife makers have been using the sword law to push the legal limit to 30 centimeters. They're basically arguing, what is the real difference between a sword and a long knife except the shape of the end of the blade, or perhaps the materials? Either way, if you have one of those knives under 30 centimeters, if you're going deep into the woods, you can probably carry it. However, it is problematic. You want to be going really deep into the woods, as in not near any people whatsoever. Because if you are at a regular campsite and people see you swinging around this large sword, or if they just become annoyed with you and report you to the police are going to come see that knife and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. They're going to determine that you just don't need it. Always remember that there are two laws in action. There's one law, the sword and gun law, that says what's legal to carry, and then there is, on the other hand, the minor offenses law, which says don't carry a knife. The other thing to remember, this is a question I just got recently, is that when you're looking at something like a Swiss Army knife, remember that it's measured from the handle to the tip. So even though the cutting edge here is 6 centimeters, they count this as a 7 centimeter blade, which would mean even if it wasn't for the minor offenses law, this would be considered too long for you to carry. Once again, if you are moving here and you are a foreigner, I would remind you to kind of mind your P's and Q's, especially where potential weapons are involved. In the end, if a Japanese doesn't like something you're doing, you're going to lose. Unless you have some very smart, very nice Japanese on your side. But that's another video, and that's also just my opinion. It might be mere blather.